So I went to Rails Girls with Brian, Lou, who's not here, and Rachel. Come on up, please. It was fun. I taught a girl for most of Sunday who was just completely stoned, so if you go to one of these things, don't go back, because you won't learn much. She was like, what are you saying? And then I typed, oh, you just do like Rails G scaffold, and she's like, oh, wow, that's so fucking awesome. But besides that, it was fun. It's kind of cool to see the community get together, and I'm sure Rachel can talk more about that.
Yeah, so I kind of had the same experience. I really like the idea behind Rails Girls, and Rails Bridge kind of does the same thing, getting more women and also just beginners in general into coding. One thing that I talked to Nick about was we kind of got the impression that it was pretty overwhelming for probably more than half the participants, especially installing Rails at the beginning, when they have someone next to them typing in random commands and the command line is confusing to someone who has never seen it anyway. That I feel like that probably pushes more people away than invites them in. And then I asked Nick, I was like, why hasn't Vegas done something like this yet? And so we've kind of been emailing back and forth, thinking about ideas for putting on something similar to Rails Girls or similar to Rails Bridge in Vegas, but taking the lessons that we learned from our experience and like simplifying it as much as possible. So one idea that we came up with was using Nitrous.io just as a base to get started, just so that they're not installing tons of stuff on their machine. That
The internet was down, so installation sucked.
Yeah. And they were like passing around like a USB drive to install Rails. It was ridiculous.
64-bit image.
Right. So we started a Google Doc, and I can like share it with everyone for like ideas of what to do. But I already talked to some people that are sitting in the back. But I mean, is this something that you guys would be interested in like helping out with?
Yes. Is it similar to like a Ruby weekend, or like how is it different?
I've never been to Ruby Weekend. I think the last time that happened, I didn't know anything about coding. So
I think the biggest difference was Ruby Weekend charged.
We only charged because we were t-shirts.
Yeah.
But
is it one-on-one? Is it one-on-one mentoring?
No, it wasn't one-on-one. It was, well, the way they had to do it was kind of disorganized. Like, because the internet was down, people were at so many different stages that it was kind of hard to get on the same page. So I think I would prefer the Ruby Weekend format where there's like a teacher and then people helping them out. I think that'd be cool. But one thing that we talked about was, instead of doing it here at Innovation, even though it's super nice to do it somewhere in East Las Vegas to help people there, the only place I could think of is the community college there. If any of you have a better venue, please let me know.
There's also it's like a tech high school out on the east side. Or like
East Tech.
Tech?
East Tech, yeah.
East Tech?
That could work.
we just thought that would be cool, just because I feel like there's a lot of tech events here, and it kind of attracts the same crowd all the time. Whereas like students in the area that I teach, like their parents have never heard of coding, and I just think it'd be really cool to like invite a different community into like another opportunity.
And we were also thinking, instead of, Rails might be a little too much, just something as simple as, you know, a static web page could be a good first step, and then build something a little more dynamic if you get time to it.
So yeah, so like having the first day be HTML, CSS, and like basic Ruby methods, like, and then the next day kind of putting a Sinatra, or like adding on a Sinatra server to the backend, and then taking the CSS and the HTML that they built the day before and putting that on top. And just building something super simple. And I think that was another thing that I saw was when we typed Rails new at Rails Girls, and like a million things pop up, and there's like tons of different folders with like names like bin and like things they've never seen before. I felt like that was completely overwhelming to a lot of people I was helping, and they were like, okay, I'm done with Rails Girls and I'm never going to do that again. So
unless you were stoned, and then you thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I think a lot of times when we try and do beginner things, we don't do them beginner enough. And Rails, as easy as they try and make Rails be, and it assumes if nothing else, a familiarity with how computers and programs even work, so that the end user of Rails is expected to not be surprised that when they run this command, it creates a bunch of files for them, right? And they might even be able to suss out what they mean. That was the idea with, when they created it. It wasn't this is so easy, a beginner who has never heard of it can use it. So.
Right, and I think that would be the cool thing about doing it with Sinatra, because you can run Sinatra with one file.
Yes.
So I mean, like building it out from there, and then kind of like breaking the pieces apart and saying, okay, this is why this would go into a different file, because this is a model and this is a controller, or something like that. So I don't know what the best way to like share the Google Doc is. We have a pretty comprehensive start.
Good.
You have
the link to the
yeah.
Las Vegas mailing.
Yeah, we
Okay,
have mailing
okay.
list.
Mailing list.
And I'll make it
By the
open
way.
editable.
Yep.
I trust you guys more than I trust myself, so,
You
yeah.
probably shouldn't do that.
No, I trust that they know more than I do. Yeah, so. And then the other thing is like a date for this to happen. I would like it to happen before I leave Vegas.
Well, that's a
In
short
July.
timeline.
When are you leaving?
July.
So yeah, I'll try to throw up a wedgie, I guess, now, and then people can vote on it over the course of the week.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do that, yeah, set up the file, and yeah, but we can just get going.
Awesome.
Thank you.